Good morning, everybody. This is it. It's over. We're done. Last day. Hey, what a way to start the day. I have one like in YouTube already, and I hadn't even said hello. What's better than that? All right. Let's get some charts. We're gonna start with an interesting one here. Let's put things in perspective. How high can this market go? Question, poll. Do we hit 5,000 in 2022 in the SPX? More likes, thank you. 5,222. So we're within striking distance. I'm going to get to the chart. Is the market extended? Yeah, sure. Why not? Oh, yeah. Wait till you see this. Pretty amazing. 5,000 is a bunt from here. And it's a monster whole number, of course. All right. But and let's just see here. Auto scale. Let's put it on a percentage scale. Let's put it in. Oh, no, I don't want that. Fixed percentage, invert. I haven't done this in so long, like log scale. Puts it a little bit more in perspective that you would think, hey, that could keep going. And, look at that monster run from the 80s. And I'm sure at some point, like here, that's extended. This is a coronavirus, of course, weird kind of thing. But if you take that out of the mix, looking at it from this perspective, yeah, it could hit 5,000. I mean, as the year goes on, we'll see how things progress as we always do. But taking a look at things from a long-term perspective and, we look at sometimes intraday on even 5-minute charts or something smaller if things are really ripping. But, one of the things that we look for are range expansion bars. Now, we didn't have a range expansion bar here on the yearly chart. It just momentum slowed, and that's what it should do, as for a normal type of a turn. Momentum slows down rather than a range expansion bar. Here was an igniting range expansion bar out of a consolidation. Then we had this whippiness that went on, from 2000. That was that correction into 2008, which was sideways that started this new move. So yeah, that could keep going. And so, during next year, we'll be looking to see, the yield curves invert. That's our long-term thing. But let's look at NASDAQ, NDX. And, I suppose 20,000 or so. But this looks like nothing on this chart. This was crushing, right? That 2000 correction, went from 5,000 down below 1,000. So, and keeping in perspective the kind of carnage that could happen. Now, looking at it now, it's like, oh my God, is that extended? Now I scroll back and I can't, I don't know if I can auto scale that. See, into 2000, you scroll back, after things have gone up for a while, this doesn't look like such a big deal, but it was crazy how things went up. And just from intraday trading, swing trading, this was much more powerful a bull market. Maybe it's not as long, 95, into here, 5 years, but the way things went up intraday and from swing trading, it was much more powerful because it wasn't as erratic as it is today. But right here at the top, yield curve inverted, transports started declining. All the warning signs were there. And if you remember, if you're trading back then, an analyst that would say, hey, you got to be careful. That guy lost his job. We don't have those warning signs today, but this might be on its way to 20,000 before it really starts to pull back. Who knows? But it's just an incredible, incredible move. Do you remember the catalyst for the 2000 crash? I don't really remember, what was the event on that day. As I said, yield curve had already inverted, transports had already started heading down. So what we call techno fundamentals were already saying, something bad's coming. And I can remember the high day. Yahoo doesn't trade anymore, of course, but on the high day, Yahoo was pre-split, was trading at $1,000, and Merrill Lynch, which is no longer around, it was their, best trading idea. Merrill Lynch used to come out with, their best trading idea, and I'd make note of it. That day was in White Plains, New York, and started heading down, and all the way down, they were pumping it up, buy different firms, and when it got down to about $8 or $10, they downgraded it. So, but we'll be keeping an eye on all the warning signs. We see how things have moved. This is straight up, and just looking at that from a year to year basis. Prior bar's low is way down here. To say it's got to break a prior bar's low, that's your first reference point of support. Of course, there's a whole lot of reference points of support inside this bar. So I just want to put that year in perspective. Looking at the Dow, hey, what a crazy bar that whipped down with this Corona thing. And hey, I could keep going. Right. Anyway, we'll see how it all plays out. Russell, backing off. We know it's been in a big trading range all year, breakout failure, all the way back down again. Got close to 25,000, but this has been moving up. Direct result of bursting the .com bubble. That's what Deepak is saying. Yeah, I mean, that's what Google said. Yeah, I mean, it was the whole .com thing, and it was pretty crazy time, of course. And I remember in the prior company that I sold, Pristine, everyone was enamored with the valuations, and we went to Jeffries, to see, hey, we can go public, and why not? But we went there and met with someone at Jeffries, and they said, man, this is like really awesome what you guys are doing here. We're really, really interested. You've got to make some changes to your business model. And the answer was, you're making money. You're not supposed to be making money. You got to be taking all of that money and spending it to get more eyeballs. That was the whole thing with the .com thing. Spend all of that money to get more eyeballs. And by the time we started doing that and restructuring, the crash came and it was all over. But, all right, so let's take a look at what's happening here this morning, which isn't too much. Let's see here. As I looked. And I thought we'd take a little look out at what's happening over the course of the year. All right, so that little pullback, yesterday, and in the green room, I was like, what happened? Why the selling? Well, we always look for technical reasons, right? Because we're chartists, of course. But as I like to say, sometimes prices go down because they didn't go up. And that's the psychology of the chart. So yesterday, where prices were just hanging up there, they were hanging up there because people thought it'll go higher, and that was a reasonable thought. Extended could become more extended. And as we got near the end of the day, it didn't break out. So people sell, and they sold in unison, and things went down. And so I pointed out yesterday is like, okay, that looks pretty nasty, but in perspective of the daily chart, it's really not a big deal. So we'll see how this shapes up as far as a consolidation. We looked at this yesterday as far as minor support over there, which is subjective, but we talked about staying in the upper half of this wide range bar. And Whoopi Goldberg started a site offering Whoopi dollars. That was a swing and a miss back in the 2000 era, Ken. I think the best thing I remember was I think it was the E-Trade commercial where they pull the guy into the operating room and all the doctors are there, and they lift the cover and they said, he's got money coming out of his gazette. I mean, most people remember the taxi driver trading, but that was the most funny one that I remember. He's got money coming out his ass. The stock market is so incredible. And so those little things that were happening was like, man, this is how long can this go on? But, so little pullback starting here. Not a big deal. Weekly chart still looks great. That little extension turned into a wide whippy consolidation. And we had things coming off at the low here. Sideways action there. Similarly, this was doing the best yesterday, and as it reached up there, and as I'm looking at this, and this is the futures, it's not the cash Dow, which was 36, but you might remember if you were trading back then, this guy Jerry Siegel, this older guy, I think he's a Harvard professor, back in 1999. He was quoted, the Dow will hit 36,000. Well, eventually did, right? And how many years later? But and NASDAQ went down 95% at the time he made that after he made that statement. So he's been proven right. It took 20 some odd years and a crash, and then a mini crash. You had the stomach to sit through that. You must be Superman. Yeah, someday we'll look back and, look at all of this and like, really? They were wearing masks for 2 years? Whatever. By the way, I told Dan, an old friend, back at that time, I think it was actually 1996 or so. And we opened up the first office in White Plains, and we had the secretary's name, whatever, but we had a room. We started a room where traders came in to trade. And before we had furniture, we had some, local guys and friends came and, set up computers, and they brought in their own chairs and whatever. And, fellow that I still talk with, from back in the mid 90s, his name was Phil Hockren. Traded in the room back then and kept in touch over the years and so on. But he emailed me the beginning of the week to say hi, Happy New Year, and so on. and he got his vaccine shot and his arm became paralyzed. And, I know most people are just fine from it, but, there is a real risk with these things. And he says it's gotten better, but he really twisted his head to think, he might be paralyzed for the rest of his life. Who knows what triggered that in him? But yeah, not that he's going to sue. He just wanted his arm back. But, it's crazy times. Oh, Russell just jiggling around. I think we're going to have more of that, today. This pulling back kind of like in a bull flag up at resistance here. So things will just be flip-flopping. Bitcoin, maybe a retest here where things get going. We'll see. Looking to the left as always. There is that turn there. Lita. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, it's scary. It's scary, It's experimental things, and yeah. Oil consolidating. We're going to same kind of thing everywhere here. Silver looking really nice. A little continuation thing setting up here. We can go higher. And gold into the void. It started out messy. It's still a little messy, but that should go higher. YouTube, thank you for sharing experience. You feel privileged. Happy New Year, Greg and Dan. Yep. So, yeah, Dan and I, we love this. Dan, and by the way, you guys know or not know, Dan and I have been doing this together for over 20 years. And Dan, Dan emailed us and said, hey, if you guys need some help there, I'm willing to drive up to New York. And Dan came up there, got a place, came into the office, and sat next to, I think he sat next to my partner first, and who wasn't so, I get much of a mentor, so to speak, one-on-one, but and Dan sat next to me and we enjoyed the time. I was like, man, this guy's pretty smart. It's like a sponge, because Dan is smart. And it was been a long, great relationship. All right. And transports, consolidating there, resistance. So probably going to be a quiet day, a little movement. Dan and I are going to knock off around 1 or so. Maybe we'll hang out. I don't know. But things will typically quiet down after lunch or at the beginning of lunch. And then maybe the last half hour, like yesterday, there's some movement. So those in YouTube, all the best. We enjoy speaking to you guys every morning, and we'll be back in the new year. All yours, Dan.
All right. Good morning. Yeah, we've had a long, great history together. Yeah, we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it. So, 0 DTE Day, December 31. We will, it's funny talking about window dressing, Greg. I just was talking to a neighbor of mine who has like $1 million in the market. And we're just chatting in the hallway, and he's like, oh, Dan, yeah, I did some tax loss selling. I sold Disney. And then he says he's just going to buy it right back on Monday. So, but that's real life behavior, Hey, Jake, same to you, my friend. All right, so there's no earnings stocks. All our opens are fine. We have a nice, big list of interesting stocks that we put together yesterday. A lot of bottoming patterns. And this T-Doc is one of them. I mean, we can go through them later. But here, dunking, I said a new, and we've had a lot of conversations this week about bottoming patterns, and is it actually bottoming, or is it a potential one? And what were the signs? Remember, VIAC was a bottoming pattern. So that one we were trading yesterday. Lita gave us pen. This looks fantastic. This is a bottoming pattern. So you got nasty downtrend, attempt to hold, failed. Right back up, going sideways, 20, it's above the 20, which is flattening. Look at that big price away. Still in a downtrend, but we're traders. This is not a core long. The monthly is still ugly, but I'm not trading the monthly. I would be trading the daily with a price away. So this is definitely on my list. I hope today's kind of quiet, and then or retrace some more, and then we can, these would be good triggers on Monday, because it's 90% chance only going to trigger if it's strong. PayPal here is on our list. That's a bottoming pattern. It needs some oomph, but it's a bottoming pattern with a big price void. You can see there on the daily weekly. His cousin square. All right, let's see what else I have over here. Jets, the news said another 1,000 cancellations today. But we had a nice retest pattern. We're still in that. Our ETF trader, CDC, came out and said, don't go on cruise ships. I mean, I'd be pissed if I ran a cruise company. Let go on a cruise if you want. Let them figure it out. Don't shut down my whole industry. So we're still in the CCL. Looking a little weak here. I know, don't go on a cruise ship if you have a problem with it. But Greg and I are into the libertarian views, non-government interference, all that stuff. All right, NTRB, what's up with you? 689. Wow, that's a big gap way up here. And I read an interesting fact, Mike, in the paper yesterday. It said, and it's like, do you believe what you're writing here? It said, oh, because of Corona, we had no flu cases last year. And it's like, do you hear yourself talking? You don't really believe what you're saying, do you? Oh yeah, the flu, it's been going on for centuries, but yeah, there was no flu last year. It was all Corona. And then Greg, I heard this other retarded comment on, and all these news things, they're slanted left and right. We know, and 90% of them are full of it. But this woman on CNN, they were talking about inflation, and she gets on there and says, the reason we have inflation is because people can afford higher prices. And I was looking around like, remember that show? Remember that show where you don't know if you're being spoofed and you're looking around? Is there a can of camera? It's like a real can of camera right now. That was the most retarded comment I think about economics I think I've ever heard. Greg, I have no idea what you just typed there. All right, so TDoc.
Someone typed that in YouTube. I don't know. That's supposed to be a stock or whether it's some kind of spam.
Well, bomb.ongs, I don't get any .ongs. So, all right, so TDoc bottoming pattern for Monday over today's high. But remember, today's 0 DTE day, so I'm always open for 0 DTEs, and the fangs are a little weak here, so those are always candidates for call spreads. We actually have a bunch expiring today. We have Bitcoin, Google, Merck, NVIDIA, Tesla, and VIAC is the only one for next week. Put spread, everything else is today. This was a nice one. Janet found for us yesterday, wide range igniting. We sold some puts. Square we talked about. Yeah, oh, MSauce, marijuana. Is this potential bottoming attempt number 94? I don't know. I don't know is the answer, but we'll keep an eye on it. Like, what's the stock GPS that we're in? Remember I told you on? It took me 3 to 4 weeks to finally pull the trigger on this one. Well, it wasn't GPS, it was a sister company, JWN. We finally pulled the trigger over here. So that's my point on bottoming patterns. Sometimes they're ready to go, you know, because they're more mature, and some of them I have to watch for a couple days, couple weeks. So like here's MJ, this is the other marijuana ETF. Is this bottoming? I have absolutely no idea, but I would probably say no. Why? Well, because it's in a nasty downtrend, daily, weekly, monthly. And, you know, every little attempt to move up has failed. I got declining 2050. So there's no evidence to me that this is a confident bottom right now. And Delta 20, Pelletier, Delta 20 lows, selling Delta 20s. Pelletier. Okay, so that fits. Okay, all right. So 20 Delta, he writes 3 bottoming candles on the weekly, sideways on the daily. That is a correct statement. That is, and that's exactly the subject that I'm talking about right now. Is this a bottoming pattern that interests me? Or is this just a consolidation in a downtrend before it makes its next move lower? I don't know, but it's not mature enough for me to take action yet. You know, we say that we want like a shock bar, a something bar. So what would that be? For me, big old bottoming tail after making a new low, a gap reversal. If this gap down to like, just eyeball at 1750 and then closed above here, big fat engulfing bar. Now you got my attention. Like Neo was yesterday. See on volume, this thing ripping on the 15 and the daily. Roku. Yeah, Roku looks great. Yeah, that's another